Good morning. I'm just going to pass over to Ben Attrell first.
Good morning, everybody. Can I have a nomination for chair of today's meeting, please, members?
I nominate Councillor Strudwick.
I second it.
Over to you then, Chair.
Perfect. Right. Welcome, everyone, to this licensing subcommittee on Monday, the 9th of September. Just going to go through some housekeeping. May I draw everyone's attention to the fact that this meeting will be live streamed. Everyone speaking via a microphone will be on camera. Please turn it off when you've finished speaking, otherwise the camera will remain on you. Members of the press and public are also permitted to record the meeting on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Housekeeping safety information: if the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Do not attempt to use the lifts. Please assemble at Queen Victoria's statue in Guildhall Square. In order to comply with the Guildhall Trust Fire Marshal regulations, anyone who signed in at the Guildhall reception desk should sign out when leaving the building at the end of today's meetings. I'm going to go around and do introductions. Obviously, I'm Councillor Emily Strudwick and Chair of the Licensing Committee.
I'm Councillor Dave Ashmore, member of the Licensing Committee.
I'm Councillor Abdul Qadir, Licence Committee.
Good morning. My name is Ben Attrell. I'm a solicitor employed by the Council, and I'll be advising the subcommittee whilst they make their determination today.
Good morning, members. Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
Jane Didino, Local Democracy Officer.
Good morning, Nikki Humphreys, Licensing Manager for Portsmouth City Council.
PC 23635, Ben Lewington from Hampshire Constabulary.
Colin Pollard, also police licensing.
Adam Shaw, I'm a solicitor at TV Edwards representing the Afters.
Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Jonathan Robinson, shareholder in Afters.
Ilya Taylor, Director of Afters Nightclub.
Perfect. And then we've also got Councillor Raymond Dent and Councillor George Madrick at the back. Councillor Dent is a reserve member and he would like to stay and observe and stay for the deliberations but won't be able to talk, kind of give any feedback. Are you okay with that? Yeah? Perfect. Right, any declarations of members' interest? No. Right, I appreciate that some people haven't come to a subcommittee before, so I will just briefly explain how it's going to run. I get this little tick sheet that tells me what to do. So we're going to go to the licensing team, then responsible authorities, and then the applicant's case. All right, we're going to start with our licensing team first.
Good morning, members. So this is a review hearing for Afters Nightclub, which is located within the Community of Impact Zone, which we refer to as the CIZ in Guildhall Walk. This is the only CIZ within the City of Portsmouth. It was set up in 2010 to combat the increase in violence in the nighttime economy, following 2 tragic deaths as a direct result of violent incidents in licensed premises. The CIZ has been reviewed in 2014 and 2017, and violent crime continues to be an issue in this area. The review application attached at Appendix A in your bundle, pages 9 to 59, was submitted on behalf of Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police, and you will hear from Ben Lewington and Colin Pollard shortly. Following receipt of this review, Nikki Humphreys, your licensing manager, also submitted a representation concerning the venue where her concerns are that all 4 of the licensing objectives are being undermined, and you'll hear from Nikki this morning. Her representation is attached in your bundle at Appendix C, pages 77 to 89. At Appendix B is a copy of the premises licence, and at Appendix D you will see 8 support representations that have been received. In accordance with the Act and prescribed regulations, public notice of the review application was given both at the premises and also at the civic offices. In addition, a notice of the review application was posted on the Council website and also served on all of the responsible authorities. Members, when determining the review application, the committee must have regard to the promotion of the licensing objectives, which, as you know, are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. You have to have regard to the Licensing Act 2003, the adopted statement of licensing policy, judgments of the High Court, which your legal advisor can guide you on should that become necessary, the current statutory guidance issued by the Home Secretary in accordance with Section 182 of the Act, and the representations including supporting information presented by all parties. Also, the human rights of all parties concerned to ensure both a fair and balanced hearing. The public sector quality duty requiring public bodies to have regard to needs to be considered also. The statutory guidance provides advice in relation to the considering of review applications. In particular, members, you must have regard to paragraph 11.1 that sets out the proceedings in the Act to review premises. It's a key protection for the community where problems associated with the licensing objectives occur after the grant of a premises licence. At any stage following the grant of a premises licence, a responsible authority or any other person may ask the licensing authority to review the licence because of a matter arising at the premises in connection with any of the four licensing objectives. Paragraph 11.10 says where authorised persons and responsible authorities have concerns about problems identified at premises, it is good practice for them to give licence holders early warning of their concerns and the need for improvement, and where possible they should advise the licence holder of the steps they need to take to address those concerns. A failure by the holder to respond to such warnings is expected to lead to a decision to apply for a review. Cooperation at a local level in promoting the licensing objectives should be encouraged, and reviews should not be used to undermine this cooperation. Paragraph 11.16 states the 2003 Act provides a range of powers for licensing authorities which it may exercise in determining a review where it considers them appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. In reaching your decision, the guidance says under 11.17, the licensing authority may decide that the review does not require it to take any further steps appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. In addition, there is nothing to prevent a licensing authority issuing an informal warning to the licence holder or to recommend improvement within a particular time period. It is expected that licensing authorities will regard such informal warnings as an important mechanism for ensuring that the licensing objectives are effectively promoted and that warnings should be issued in writing to the licence holder. Paragraph 11.18 states, however, where responsible authorities such as the police or environmental health officers have already issued warnings requiring improvement, either orally or in writing, that have failed as part of their own stepped approach to address concerns, licensing authorities should not merely repeat that approach and should take into account when considering what further action is appropriate. Where the licensing authority considers that action under its statutory powers is appropriate, it may take the following steps. So you can modify the conditions of the premises licence. You can exclude licensable activities from the scope of the licence. You can remove the designated premises supervisor, for example, because you consider that problems are a result of poor management. You can suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, or you can revoke the licence. Paragraph 11.20 says, in deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that licensing authorities should, so far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of the concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action should generally be directed at these causes and should always be no more than appropriate and proportionate response to address the causes of concern that instigated the review. For example, licensing authorities should be alive to the possibility that the removal and replacement of the designated premises supervisor may be sufficient to remedy a problem where the cause of the identified problem directly relates to poor management decisions made by that individual. 11.22 says, equally, it may emerge that poor management is a direct reflection of poor company practice or policy, and the mere removal of the designated premises supervisor may be an inadequate response to the problems presented. Indeed, where subsequent review hearings are generated by representations, it should be rare merely to remove a succession of designated premises supervisors, as this would be a clear indication of deeper problems that impact upon the licensing objectives. Finally, members, at 11.23, licensing authorities should also note that modifications of conditions and exclusions of licensing activities may be imposed either permanently or on a temporary period for up to 3 months. Temporary changes or suspension of the licence for up to 3 months could impact on the business holding the licence financially and would only be expected to be pursued as an appropriate means of promoting the licensing objectives. It's always important that any detrimental financial impact that may result from a licensing authority's decision is appropriate and proportionate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. I think I don't need to say any more, members. A copy of this statement of the licensing policy is available for you today, and I will be here throughout the proceedings if I can assist you in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions? No? Can I just confirm whether the licence holder of the current DPS has past experience in Portsmouth with licensed premises?
The current DPS, Lydia?
Yeah.
She's only just got her qualification.
Fine. And the number of changes for the DPS, is that regular? Because there's been quite a few changes from the paperwork I see. Is that normal or irregular?
I would say it's irregular, not normal.
Go to page 6 of the licence holder's written submission. It says paragraph 6, it states that the licensing authority stated that the DPS, Miss Hurst, knew virtually nothing about the Licensing Act. Can you confirm whether you're aware if there are any licensing officers said this to the licence holder, and furthermore, can you inform us whether you felt Miss Hurst was a reputable DPS?
Sorry, Chair, where are you referring to?
A submission from this, their representation that came in. Yes. Should be paragraph 6 or page 6.
Chair, I don't like to interject. I do it hesitantly, but it may well be that this type of questioning is better aimed at the other side of licensing that's represented by Nikki, that's actually making the representation today, rather than the officer that's just presenting the report.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't know who produced the DPS, who signed it off, so that's what I was just trying to gauge.
Sure. If you're able to answer.
I think I'll leave it for Nikki to answer. Thank you.
Members, any other questions? Do you have any questions for the licensing for the case?
Not at this stage.
Do you have any questions? Probably not. I'm just doing the tick box. Okay. Now, I know I said the other side of the licensing team, but if I go off this paperwork, it's actually the applicant's case next. All right, after you.
You're happy for me to just present my submissions? Well, good morning. I accept they're lengthy and I'm not going to have time to go through them, but you've obviously read them. It's my case that there have been teething problems with this licence altogether, and I think that the afters probably established business and set up business prematurely, and ought to have done a little bit more by way of negotiations and sort of networking and getting their house in order. And whilst there have been problems, they have taken steps to remedy that, and there have been improvements. They've been open for the last 2 weekends. I understand that last weekend the police attended and didn't find issues. They found that they were complying with their licence. This weekend we invited all interested parties to attend again. As I understand it, nobody did attend to do any checks. But I say that that's 2 weekends of them operating a working and efficient business. They were closed.
Chair, I'm really sorry to interrupt, particularly whilst you're in flow, but I'm just wondering about the procedure. It being a review rather than an application, I think perhaps it may well make more sense, and I'm willing to take representations on the point if other parties have, or the parties have views, but I think it probably makes more sense for the subcommittee to hear from the applicant.
That's exactly what
making
I thought,
the review
but
application.
the procedure on
I
here
think you
says
may
wrong,
have the wrong
so if we
procedure,
can get
perhaps.
a different one for next time.
Yeah,
So we'll
so
go, if you're happy.
I felt it was difficult without having heard their application.
It makes far more sense, I think, for you to hear from those making the representations and the application for the review, effectively the case against the
That's fine, if we can just get
so
an
that they
update
can
of one
then
of these.
respond. Yeah, my apologies that you've got the wrong procedure in front of you. That's an admin slip on our part. I would suggest police and then licensing and then premises to respond.
Good morning. I'm PC 23635 Ben Lewington. I work within the licensing and alcohol reduction team for Hampshire Police. Along with my colleagues on the team, I represent the Chief Officer of Police in all matters relating to the Licensing Act 2003. Police have requested this review due to serious concerns relating to failures at the premises to prevent crime and disorder and promote public safety. There are persistent breaches of premises licence condition resulting in Section 136 offences under the Act. There are ongoing issues with significant intoxication of patrons and drug use at the premises. All of this was highlighted following a joint visit between Portsmouth City Council and Police Licensing on the 12th of July this year. The visit was in response to reported incidents of crime disorder at the premises, reoccurring non-compliance with the licence conditions and other reports of concern from local police officers and members of the public. On the 6th of April, the local police sergeant wrote a report which described his first experience of Afters nightclub from the previous night on the 5th of April. The report can be found in Appendix A. I'd like to highlight a few of the extracts from it. He says that Afters was causing multiple issues for police. People leaving the premises in possession of Class A drugs, multiple customers allowed entry under the influence of drugs, at least one male was identified entering the club on a fake ID, people were stopped coming out of the club in possession of drugs, and the manager's response to this was, at least they wasn't in my club. Following this significant concerns raised by the sergeant, the district inspector instructed a police licensing officer from Basingstoke to attend Portsmouth for an entire duty on the 6th of April. This was to monitor, assess and engage with Afters nightclub. PC Dennett of the Police Licensing Alcohol Reduction Team attended and observed the club on the 6th of April and provided a detailed report which you can find in Appendix B. To highlight some of his findings, he says, customers being over-intoxicated to the point they were unable to stand. This can be seen from the photographs in Appendix B. Intoxicated male being held up by a friend and this leading to violent incidents. Drugs misuse at the venue. 2 males ejected from the venue, one found in possession of drugs and the other collapsed on the floor that required an ambulance. Again, please refer to the photos in Appendix B for that. PC Dennett summarised these findings, highlighting breaches of the premises licence conditions, poor management, drug misuse, violent behaviour and significant intoxication. At this early point in the timeline for Afters, they had failed to notify the authority or police of their intention to open. They had not engaged with the authority or police licensing teams prior to opening, and they were operating with a premises licence which had a DPS named who was not part of the business in any way. This was a red flag for police, and engagement followed this weekend of irresponsible operating as recommended under Section 182 guidance. Communication and compliance visits followed. Appendix C shows the chains of emails notifying the licence holder and her partner of police concerns and showing the evidence we gave. Showing the advice we gave. This includes police concerns relating to drunkenness, drug use, capacity, violent disorder, management, public safety. Police advice relating to reducing types of music which can attract drug users and dealers to the venue, search policy to promote public safety and prevent drugs or weapons from being brought into the venue, drugs policy to deal with the emerging and obvious issues at the venue, to make this a strong area of focus for training for the team, refusals of the sale of alcohol to prevent intox and recording these to show diligence, challenge 25, to provide a written door supervisor's policy and door staff logbook, to update the CCTV system to achieve compliance, to create and adopt a welfare and vulnerability policy to ensure customers are looked after when needed. Police further advise the licence holder not to open again until fully compliant with the conditions to avoid committing further Section 136 offences, and attached a number of documents to assist the licence holder in addressing these police concerns. This included an extensive drugs policy and drugs training packages. Appendix C also highlights an acknowledgement from Ms Taylor that, quote, some conditions were not compliant relating to the PCC licence manager's visit on the 5th of April, when the authority was told that the venue would not open until compliance was achieved. As per the local sergeant's report, Afters was open on the 5th of April. The following incidents have been reported to police since Afters opened. Appendix G contains the full details of this, but I will highlight them. The 5th of April, male seen to exit the venue, place items in his sock. Male was stopped and searched by police and found in possession of several small bags of white powder. 7th of April, small bag of white powder was found outside the venue by police and could have been found by anyone. 7th of April, male exited venue, stopped and searched by police, found in possession of drugs. 7th of April, male from venue collapsed and required medical attention due to drugs misuse. 28th of April, male refused entry due to being intoxicated with white powder around his nose. Male then threw punch at door staff. 20th of May, reports of aggressive male at venue trying to fight customers. Security were unable to deal with the male and male was refusing to leave. 11th of July, report of a male assaulted in the venue. Male received physical injuries and initially attended hospital. 13th of July, male observed trying to conceal items in his pocket. Male was verbally aggressive to door staff and police. Male had earlier been ejected from Afters for taking drugs. Male was searched by police and found in possession of drugs. 13th of July, report of a sexual assault on a female in the venue. Suspect admitted in interview that he had consumed drugs and alcohol to the point he couldn't remember events leading up to his arrest. 13th of July, report of a male taking drugs in the venue, stopped and searched by police, found in possession of bags of white powder. In interview, the suspect confirmed he had been given the drugs by someone in Afters. All these offences have been recorded and investigated by police, with formal outcomes achieved on a number of these incidents. They cover more than 3 months of trading at Afters and show no positive change that have occurred since the irresponsible weekend highlighted at the beginning of April and the engagement and advice which followed. On the 15th of May, the street pastors reported that they had to escort a heavily intoxicated female to the safe space for medical attention. She disclosed that she had bought drugs in the toilets of Afters. Due to the number of incidents reported to police in relation to drugs misuse, police have on 2 occasions conducted Rapiscan drug swabs at the venue. These drug itemisers are the same that are used in airports to detect drugs and or explosive. Our machines are programmed for drugs only, and I will refer to this subcommittee to Appendix I. The first drug swab was taken on the 13th of April, a week after the venue opened. These were taken from surfaces in the male and female toilets and showed high readings for the presence of cocaine and spice, with readings up to 9.6. This was with a toilet attendant employed and present at the time. The second round of swabs were taken 3 months later during a compliance visit on the 12th of July. From various locations, including toilets, the bar, and staff-only back-of-house areas. The results for the male toilets had readings of up to 11.6 for cocaine and ketamine, and the female toilets with readings up to 12.8 for the same drugs. These results are considerably higher than in April, and the operator informed PC Swallow that the toilets were deep cleaned prior to opening that night. Other drug swab results I would like to highlight for you are the bar area, including the staff-operated tills that had readings of up to 6.4 for cocaine and ketamine, and the kitchen area that only staff have access to had readings of up to 6.9 for cocaine. As per PC Swallow's report, these readings indicate that a very recent contact of less than 6 hours, and this is a direct contact either on the person or on the surface, and I would reiterate that Mr Robinson informed police that the venue had deep cleaned prior to opening. These readings indicate an increase in drug misuse in the customer areas of the club and suggest that those who have access to staff-only areas are misusing illegal drugs too. Due to the visit on the 12th of July, Mr Robson told police that he adopted the drugs policy and drugs training provided by police. He said he trained all his staff monthly in their content. When asked to see this policy, Mr Robson only had access to the attachment on the original email from police. He had not downloaded, saved or printed these documents for use. There was no documented evidence the training had been given to staff. Police licensing officer Colin Pollard asked all staff on duty on the 12th about the drugs policy in training, and none knew what he was talking about. It was clear this policy and training had not been adapted or cascaded to the staff. Mr Pollard requested from Miss Taylor to collect any found or seized drugs on the premises in line with the drugs policy and training processes previously mentioned. Miss Taylor said that there were no drugs to collect and that these had been handed to the previous security staff to hand in to police. This is not in line with the drugs policy recommended by police. To Ms Taylor, and police have no record of any drugs being handed in relation to Afters nightclub since it opened. Appendix H contains a full report from the visit from the 12th of July. The licence holder was employing SIA directly without being licensed by the SIA to do so. This offence was reported by police to the Security Industry Authority enforcement team, and as far as we are aware, the SIA decided to take no further action in this matter, and as is our experience, opted to pursue the individual who was working there whilst suspended instead. Mr Robinson informed police licensing officer Colin Pollard that he had checked the badge numbers of all security staff working that evening against the public register to ensure all staff held active licences. When licensing officer Pollard ran the badge numbers himself, he discovered one of the security staff on duty had been suspended since November 2023. This individual was reported to the Security Industry Authority enforcement team, and there is a current ongoing investigation into this. This diligence is vital to ensure the safety of customers at a licensed premises. To lie to the police, to present as diligent only to be found putting customers at risk is not ensuring security staff are licensed is inexcusable. This suspended security staff member would have been hands-on with customers, searching customers, responsible for the safety of customers, and was unlicensed, not lawfully permitted to do so. Council licensing officer Les Mathewson witnessed a customer in the venue snorting a white powder believed to be cocaine or ketamine, and significant intoxication was witnessed on the premises. A number of customers needed to be helped to walk out. The venue has been open since 2200 hours and still had 3 to 4 hours left until their terminal hour or closing time. A female customer who was drunk reported that she was sexually assaulted in Afters on this night, and 2 males were searched on exit by police and found in possession of illegal drugs. A female was found by police licensing officer PC Swallow almost unconscious in the photo booth on the dance floor with the curtain pool closed. What could or would have happened to this girl had she not been pointed out to the security staff by police, and why and how was she in such a vulnerable state on licensed premises? I would like to show clips from police body-worn cameras showing the visit on the 12th, and there's going to be 4 clips.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, if you're going to be viewing video footage on the basis that this would be live streamed across the internet, I might suggest that you consider going into private session effectively, and therefore excluding the press and public. To do so, you need to consider the public interest test under the hearings regulations, and whether or not the public interest in the hearing being a public hearing outweighs the public interest in excluding the press and public from viewing those clips. I would suggest that my understanding is that those clips do identify third parties, those who aren't a party per se to the proceedings today, and on that basis alone you ought to consider it appropriate to exclude the press and public. So that would mean, I think in terms of who we actually have in
Well, I was just going to jump in
room-
because there's two people that I've noticed haven't introduced themselves, so I just need to make sure they introduce themselves because I don't know if they're here to make deputations or
as
just
long as they've
here.
either made formal representations
Yeah,
or
so
they're
I just don't know who the
a party
two
to
people
the
are.
hearing, then they ought to be allowed to remain, or if they're here with the consent of parties supporting them as part
We
of
don't
their
know any of
presentation.
that. That's why I'm going to get them to
Um,
introduce themselves. Sorry, the gentleman and the lady, could you just introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Emma from Police Licensing. I'm just here observing today.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Ennis Morgan Law, and I own 3M Security Company, and I'm part of the AFTERS team. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have a couple of members here today. Obviously, one is observing the proceedings, and you've indicated that he will be involved in the decision-making, not involved in the decision-making, but observing the decision-making without making any comment. I would suggest it might be appropriate for him to remain, but the other member perhaps not, on the basis is he's
Just
simply...
give us a moment, Ben. We're happy to go into private for that.
Okay, that's great. So are you going to exclude any of the members that are here today? Okay, marvellous. Thank you, Chair. And the officer from police licensing is part of the police team. There's no objection from any other parties to her remaining?
No.